figured I'd go through a couple of things. A lot of you are still confused about the graph on the solubility. So I wanted to walk you through a couple of examples, and then also I gave you another day. I'll give you till Wednesday afternoon to get this done. Okay, so what I did is I just kind of made up a set of data. I just made it up for KCl, but we can extend the idea into also include doing the same thing for KNO3. And I didn't show how I got the solubility amounts from all those masses. I'm just talking about the temperatures because I want to focus on the data. So I had 3 temperature measurements. Down here at the bottom, I have the average of those 3 measurements. And also the 61.3 represents, I calculated with the mass of the KCl, the mass of the water, what that solubility was. And so here are my other solubilities. So the idea is I want to make a graph for the individual temperatures, and I want to make a graph for the average temperatures that shows a trend line. And for right now, what I'm going to do is kind of make them 2 separate graphs. So in theory, you'd also have the same, an individual temperatures for the KNO3 and an average with the trend line temperatures for the KNO3. So it'd be 4 graphs. And if you really get stuck, make 4 separate graphs. Show me the data. But it's much easier and more professional if they're all in the same graph. So that's the goal. So let's first make 2 individual graphs. One for the individual, one for the average. So I've copied them over onto my graph, but I didn't put them in the regular area. I put them off to the side here so that I could work with them. So I took all my individual temperatures for the individual. So these 3 go with 61.3. These 3 go with 47.8. So I got the individuals. And then down here, these are the average temperatures and the solubilities. So I'm just going to, since I copied it, I didn't have a formula, so I can just kind of say this goes for all 3 of them. The solution didn't change, I just took 3 readings. So I could take this, highlight it, insert, chart, and I want a scatter chart. And so it's showing them. And I can kind of see, well, it kind of makes sense. I see like they're all at the same solubility, but I have slightly different temperatures. So there's a little bit of range. This is exactly what I'm expecting. So I'm not going to clean this up too much. I'm just going to put this here. Okay, so then I could do the same thing here. And of course, you could clean up what's on the labels and all that. Units, insert, chart, and a little smaller. This is a scatter chart. This looks good. And if I look at these side by side, they make sense, right? They're doing the same thing. They're the same general trend. It's just this is now showing the average. And oh, I could put a trend line on by going to Customize, going to Series, scrolling down till I said Trend Line. And if I wanted to, I could even put the use equation for the formula on there. I just did a linear trend line. It looks like it's pretty good, but you could use one of the exponential or the polynomial if you find something that seems to fit the data pretty well. Sometimes an exponential or a power series or a polynomial actually fit a little bit nicer than depending on the data. All right, so this should be average temp. Let's say TMO. Didn't fix it. Oh well. Okay, so this is good, but wouldn't it be good if these were on the same thing? So note that this is my data. I have to keep the data the same. So this isn't so bad. I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it over here to the KCl solubility temperature. And then I'm going to take this data, but here's the problem. If I put this here, I'm just going to leave a thing so I can see. Then this is like saying that it's the KCl solubility of the individual, and it's not. It's the average. So I'm just going to take this over here. By putting it in a new column, what that means is it's going to be in a different color, and I can treat it differently. So I can give that one a trend line and not the other one. So now I separate all this. I don't think it cares if I have the empty space in there. We'll find out in a minute. And now I'm going to make like the real chart. So this is how I could take it. So it doesn't set up automatically. I need to change over to scatter. And now this is what I want, right? So the individual KCl solubilities are in blue, and the orange one is the average. This looks good. And of course you can change all the numbers and everything. And for the, I'm going to customize it, and I'm going to go to series, and I'm just going to do for the, instead of apply to all series, I'm just going to do it for the average. I'm going to put a trend line on that one, and I'm going to use the equation. So now it's all on one graph. Of course, it's missing the, it looks like it's missing the labels. I have to put the X and the Y axis on and all that. Did I highlight the top? Whatever. Anyway, so now I could clean this up, but I have both of them on the same one. So the idea, if we extend to doing all 4 sets of data, is the same. I'm going to make the other 2. You can make them over here on the right. And in the end, when I want, you know, this to be pretty obvious, so that can be below your data. But I'm going to make up my data over here, and then I'm going to copy it over here, but I'm going to take the solubility data, and I'm going to move it to the appropriate column. So I'd do my temperature and my individual KNO3. I'd have them down here, copy it here, but then I'd move the KNO3 into this D column. And then I do the same thing for the average temperature and the average solubility. I make one graph, and then I put them into, I move, you know, copy it over here. So the temperature is always going to stay in this side, but then I'll move the stuff that's on the y-axis, the solubility, to what column it should be in. And then when you graph it, you're going to get 4 series. 2 of them will be just the dots, and that will be the individual temperatures. 2 of them will be the dots with the trend lines. So you can either show the dots or not show the dots on the average ones. I kind of like showing it on the, probably go ahead and show it, whatever. So then you're going to get your graph with all 4. But if you get me 4 of the individual graphs, you will have show me you understand how to do the graphing and have the data and have access to the data. Even better is if they're all on the same graph so that I could do a direct comparison to them. I think that's been helpful. When you get to the questions, just a few comments. Again, you know, you want to now go back and review the notes. There's going to be a lot of scaling so that you can either you read something off of the graph and scale it back to the lab mixture to make some comparisons, or you take the lab information, scale it to standard solubility, and then look at something on the graph. So you're going to be going back and forth, and I want you to tell me about how did you set up, what was your scaling value, like when you rescaled it, what was the value, what did you read off of the chart? If you did some reading off the chart, say I looked up this is the, you know, you're going to either be looking up the temperature or the solubility. So tell me which one you read and what your value was so that I can check your graph skills and I can check your scaling skills. And then on the last one for the 2 data points, you're going to pick some of the points off of your average curve and pick a temperature, figure out what the solubility is, and try to find it on a nice, you know, temperature of there. So if you went back to here and now we're using this average one, I could pick a nice value like 25 and read off what I thought that value was. I could even use this if you want. Use the formula to calculate what would be the solubility at 20 degrees or at 30 degrees or at 50 degrees. Get one kind of near where you took a measurement so it's pretty accurate. And then do it for 2 different points. Tell me what they are. Are they both the same solute, or is one KCl and one KNO3? And at what temperature did you get it from your data? And then what temperature do you read from here, and how close were they? So give me a couple of estimates on that. Should be easy. I'll let you have till Wednesday to help with getting the graph pulled together. Have a great day.